Imagine imagine being told you can't achieve your dreams because of, uh, you know, the color of your skin.
Hmm.
And then imagine defying those limitations and like building a financial empire during a time when,
Yeah.
when the odds were completely stacked against you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Bernard Garrett did.
Right?
He was a black entrepreneur who not only achieved success, but also uplifted his community during the Jim Crow era.
So today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of Bernard Garrett.
Yeah, this is a fascinating story.
We'll uncover how he made his fortune, the ingenious strategies he employed, and the lasting impact he had.
What's so fascinating about Garrett's story is that it wasn't just about personal gain.
Yeah.
He was driven by this deep desire to empower other black Americans who
Mhm.
were, systematically excluded from economic opportunities.
I read that even as a young boy shining shoes near a bank in Texas, Garrett was absorbing financial knowledge like a sponge. It's almost as if he was preparing for his future from a very young age. Right. That early exposure to the world of finance clearly fueled his later ambitions. He didn't just want wealth for himself, he really saw it as a tool for social change.
And that drive led him to California.
Right. Exactly.
He didn't just jump into real estate, though. He started with a cleaning service, then a wastepaper business. The man clearly had a hustle.
Absolutely. These ventures demonstrate his resourcefulness and his entrepreneurial spirit. But things really took off when he partnered with a white investor named Patrick Barker. They began buying property in white neighborhoods, something that was almost impossible for black people at the time.
Hmm. This partnership, while unorthodox, was strategic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It allowed Garrett to navigate the racist lending practices that were widespread during that era.
Exactly. We're talking about the 1950s and 60s when Jim Crow laws were still in effect. These laws enforced racial segregation and discrimination, making it extremely difficult for black people to access loans or operate businesses in white-dominated areas.
So Barker's involvement provided a way to circumvent those barriers. But then when Barker passed away, Garrett partnered with Joe Morris, a successful black businessman. And this is where they developed their FACES strategy. Could you explain what that entailed?
Certainly. The FACES strategy involved hiring white men to act as frontmen for their ventures. These men were coached on the financial aspects of the business, but the real decision-making power remained with Garrett and Morris behind the scenes.
It sounds like an elaborate performance, almost like a play with carefully chosen actors. What drove them to adopt such a strategy? Was it purely a matter of survival in a racially prejudiced system?
That's a key question. While it was undoubtedly a response to the systemic racism of the time, it also reveals Garrett's understanding of how to manipulate the system to his advantage. He recognized that to break through these barriers, he had to play by the rules, even if those rules were deeply unjust.
And one of their most audacious moves using this strategy was the purchase of the Bankers Building in Los Angeles, a building where black people were routinely denied loans. This seems almost like poetic justice.
It was a bold move indeed. They accomplished this by trading their residential property deeds for stock in the building. With Matt Steiner, their frontman, at the helm, this gave them a controlling interest without revealing their true ownership.
Now, for those of us who aren't financial wizards, could you break down how trading property deeds for stock works? It sounds like a pretty sophisticated maneuver.
Essentially, they leveraged their existing assets to gain ownership in a much larger and more valuable property. It's a way of using what you have to acquire something bigger. But it certainly comes with risks. It's like a high-stakes poker game where you're betting on your ability to make those assets pay off.
It's incredibly risky, but also incredibly clever. It shows just how skillfully Garrett navigated the financial world. But he wasn't stopping there. Garrett and Morris set their sights on expanding into banking, returning to Texas, the very place where Garrett had faced so much discrimination.
This move was deeply personal for Garrett. Owning banks meant controlling capital, and having the power to grant loans to those who were systematically denied by white-owned institutions. He wanted to create opportunities in the place where he had been denied the most.
That's a powerful statement. It wasn't just about profit. It was about empowering his community and creating a legacy of change.
Exactly. The banks became lifelines for the black community in Texas. People could finally get loans for homes, businesses, even appliances, things they couldn't dream of before.
It almost feels like Garrett was building a parallel financial system, one that served those who were excluded from the mainstream. It's inspiring to see someone taking such concrete action to address inequality.
It was a radical act, especially during that time.
Hmm.
And it shows the potential for individuals to create change, even within deeply flawed systems. But as we know, the story doesn't end there.
Unfortunately, changes in banking laws and some missteps by their frontman Steiner drew the attention of a senator leading an anti-corruption investigation. This is where things take a turn right.
That's right. Garrett and Morris were eventually convicted for misusing bank funds, even though the money they used was their own. It had passed through Steiner's accounts.
That's just heartbreaking. Despite their success and their intentions to empower their community, they were ultimately brought down by the very system they were trying to navigate.
It's a tragic irony that highlights the deep-seated biases and unfairness they were up against. Despite their conviction and serving time in prison, their achievements and the impact they had should not be forgotten.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even when fighting for justice, the path is rarely straightforward, and the cost can be incredibly high.
Indeed. Garrett's story is the testament to his resilience, his ingenuity, and his unwavering commitment to his community.
It's truly tragic how their efforts were ultimately undermined. But, the impact they had on the Black community was undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
By providing access to loans and financial services, they were instrumental in helping families achieve home ownership and build businesses.
Absolutely. Home ownership is it's a cornerstone of wealth creation. By enabling Black families to buy homes, Garrett and Morris helped them build a foundation for generational wealth, something that was systematically denied to them before.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what could have been if they hadn't been caught in that legal battle. What kind of impact could they have had if they were able to continue their work?
It's hard to say for sure, but their vision was certainly ambitious. They aimed to create a network of Black-owned banks that could serve their communities and challenge the dominance of white-owned institutions. The potential for economic empowerment was huge.
Yeah, it's a shame that their story was largely forgotten for so long. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think systemic racism plays a role in silencing the achievements of Black people. Additionally, the unconventional, even controversial nature of their methods may have contributed to their story being overlooked or dismissed.
It's almost as if society wasn't ready to acknowledge their success, perhaps because it challenged the existing power structures too much.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Garrett and Morris's story disrupts the narrative of who is allowed to succeed in the financial world. They were pioneers, but their story wasn't celebrated in the same way as their white counterparts.
Thankfully, recent efforts like the film The Banker have shed light on their story, bringing it to a wider audience.
Right. It's crucial that we continue to uncover and share these stories. They challenge our understanding of history and highlight the ingenuity and resilience of those who have been marginalized.
Yeah, their story is a powerful reminder that success can be achieved even when the system seems rigged against you. What lessons can modern-day entrepreneurs, especially those from marginalized communities, learn from Bernard Garrett's journey?
Well, his story teaches us the importance of creative problem solving and thinking outside the box. Garrett didn't accept the limitations imposed on him. He found ways to circumvent them. It's a testament to his resilience and strategic thinking.
He was also a master of finance. That deep knowledge clearly gave him a significant advantage. It underscores the importance of financial literacy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Understanding how money works, how to invest, how to build credit. Those are crucial skills for anyone, but especially for those who face systemic barriers. Financial knowledge can be a powerful tool for empowerment.
Beyond financial savvy, Garrett's story also highlights the importance of collaboration and partnerships. He couldn't have achieved what he did alone.
Right, his partnerships, whether with Barker Morris or even the White Frontman, they were instrumental to his success. It demonstrates the power of building bridges and finding common ground, even in a climate of racial segregation.
It also serves as a stark reminder that the fight for economic justice is far from over. Despite the progress we've made, systemic barriers still exist. Garrett's story challenges us to continue pushing for a more equitable system.
Yeah, his legacy encourages us to create a world where everyone has a fair shot at success, regardless of their background or the color of their skin. We need to keep fighting for policies that promote economic equality and opportunities for all.
So taking a step back, what's the bigger picture lesson here? What does Garrett's story tell us about the relationship between economic empowerment and racial justice?
It highlights the undeniable link between the two. Economic empowerment is a crucial step towards dismantling systemic racism and creating a truly just society. When people have access to resources and opportunities to build wealth, they can break free from cycles of poverty and inequality.
Garrett understood that financial freedom wasn't just about individual success. It was a pathway to liberation for his entire community. His story raises a lot of thought-provoking questions, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It compels us to examine the systems that create and perpetuate inequality, and to ask ourselves how we can contribute to building a more just and equitable financial system for everyone.
It really makes you think about the role of financial systems, in either perpetuating or dismantling inequality.
Yeah.
What can we do as individuals to make a difference and contribute to a more equitable financial system?
Well, there are many ways to get involved. Supporting Black-owned businesses is a great starting point. By directing our spending power towards these businesses, we can help them thrive and contribute to economic growth within those communities.
Yeah, that's a tangible action anyone can take. But it's not just about individual choices, right? We also need to advocate for policy changes that address systemic issues.
Absolutely. We need to push for policies that promote fair lending practices, access to capital for entrepreneurs from marginalized communities, and programs that address the racial wealth gap. Our voices and our votes matter in shaping a more equitable future.
And it all starts with awareness. We need to acknowledge that these systems of inequality still exist and educate ourselves about their history and ongoing impact.
Right, education is key. By understanding the root causes of these disparities, we can better advocate for meaningful change. It's also important to engage in conversations, challenge our own biases, and support organizations working towards economic justice.
Garrett's story is a powerful reminder that individual actions can create a ripple effect. He didn't have a massive platform, but he made a significant impact through his determination and ingenuity.
Yeah. He demonstrated that even in the face of immense adversity, it's possible to challenge the status quo and create real change. His legacy is a source of inspiration and a call to action.
If Bernard Garrett were alive today, what advice do you think he would give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those from marginalized communities?
Well, knowing his tenacity and unwavering belief in himself, I think he would encourage them to dream big and never give up on their ambitions no matter the obstacles. He'd likely emphasize the importance of financial literacy as a tool for empowerment.
He'd probably also tell them to master the rules of the game and then find creative ways to bend them to their advantage just as he did.
You're absolutely right. He was a brilliant strategist who understood the power of leverage and innovation. He would want others to possess that same power, to create their own opportunities and redefine what success looks like.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the remarkable life of Bernard Garrett, what's the one takeaway you hope our listener will remember?
I hope they'll remember that Bernard Garrett's story is more than just a historical anecdote. It's a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. His legacy lives on, and it's up to each of us to continue his work towards creating a more just and equitable world.
That was beautifully said.
Hmm.
Bernard Garrett's story is an inspiration, a challenge, and a reminder that the pursuit of economic freedom is a fight worth fighting.
And if you're inspired by Bernard Garrett's incredible journey and want to learn more about trailblazers in the world of finance, you won't want to miss our next episode about Reginald F. Lewis, the first Black billionaire who transformed the investment landscape. His story is one you definitely don't want to miss.
Make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for our next deep dive. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better future.